For the day. Gurpreet Singh from Leicester. I've been asked by our senior members, International Panthic, to address you today in English. As Paramjit Singh Tadi Sathi, they explained the history, parts of 1984, what happened. We all know what happened, but what we are struggling to do is find a solution, a political solution at that. For the last 28 years I've been to many conferences, heard many speeches, been to demonstrations, but the one thing I've failed to realise, and I think a lot of our young people have failed to realise, is how are we going to achieve our goal, Khalsa Raaj? How are we going to achieve that? There's been a vogue now for the last few years of raising money for families of shaheeds. That should be done. There's been a vogue now for finding those people who have been human rights violators and getting them into courts, and that certainly should be done. That's the right way. But the third thing is our political solution. What is that? I've asked many leaders, and they've always pointed to, well, this man is doing this, let's follow him. Well, there's only about 2-3 people following him. That's here and that's in Punjab as well. What International Panthic has been doing for the last few months is monitoring world events. We've always talked about the Jews because they symbolize what we have been through and what we possibly can achieve. Fine, but their nation was back in 1947. What's happened since then? There have been 3 nations similar to us, all minorities who have gained independence, are to gain independence and will gain independence. South Sudan, the continent of Africa, it's now called the Republic of Sudan. January 2011, they held a referendum. How did they get there? Their civil war started in the 1960s. The whole country was in civil war. Millions died. But what happened? They put the gun down. They came to the table to debate, to speak to their so-called enemies. And what happened? They gained autonomy. They achieved something. And with that autonomy, their message spread throughout the world. It got to America. And sometimes politicians may not be the most powerful people to give you that global awareness. Their message reached actors, people like George Clooney, people like Brad Pitt. They became their unofficial ambassadors. And with their help, global awareness, global leaders came to the table and said, right, let's see what we can do to resolve this. January 2011, there was a referendum whether the people of South Sudan want independence or not. 98.5% wanted independence. In July 2011, South Sudan became the 193rd member of the UN General Assembly. Why haven't we learned from there? Let's move to another continent. If we're saying, well, the Indian government, there's no way of talking to them, there's another minority group in India, Gurkhas. They've been fighting for independence just like us since the 1980s. Believe it or not, they've had an armed movement since the 1980s, but they've achieved something that we have not been able to. They've been given greater autonomy again last July. How? By putting their weapons down, coming to the table, and speaking out. This is what we want, this is our roadmap, what can you do? But the most important thing that they had was people power. They convinced all the people in the Darjeeling area that this is the right way. They won their hearts and minds of the people, which I think at the moment we are failing to do. In July 2011, the Indian government with the West Bengal state gave the Gurkhas greater autonomy, and with that, the Home Minister, the same Home Minister who Jarnail Singh, the journalist, through his Shua, gave them 600 crore to start the economy, the independent economy. We don't have the power to have that. The Gurkhas now, they have their own powers to start the industry, but Prakash Singh Badal doesn't have that power. If there is foreign investment in Punjab, it has to go through the Indian government, and if the Indian government sees Punjab and say Gujarat, they will opt for Gujarat. But the Gurkhas have achieved independence economically. Move away from there, here, between 400 and 600 miles away, Scotland. January, again, 2011, Holyrood elections, the Scottish National Party won a landslide victory. How? Again, people power. They won the hearts and minds of the people. They convinced them that independence is the only way for Scotland. They threw out the Labour Party, who was dominant in that area. They threw out their Conservatives, their so-called masters in England, London, threw them out. 2-3 years' time, they'll soon be having a referendum for independence. And where are we? I'll tell you where we are. We are fighting amongst ourselves. There are 28 states in India, and a tiny little state called Punjab is ours. That's all we have. And you know what? We're throwing thrones at it every day. For the last 20 years, that's all we've been doing. This chief minister ain't that doing, the SGPC ain't doing this, Agal Jathedar did this, and so on and so forth. But what we fail to realise is who is our real enemy. It's the Indian government. I think there is a simple solution. It's simple, because this is what the other three nations have done. Be part of the status quo and take control of your own affairs. Take control of your own affairs. If you feel your Shiromani Akali Dal, which whether you like it or not, is the only Punjabi Sikh party that the people of Punjab vote for, whether you like it or not. You can set up your own party and be as Panthic as you want, but no one in Punjab said, "Main Badal nu vote pauni hai, sare kehande assi Akaliyan nu vote pauni hai." How do you win those people's hearts and minds? How do you get the same power that Badal has in your hands, taking control of your affairs? How do you take control of the Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee? If you think those people are bad, well, why don't you get in there and take power? That's what we do here in our Gurdwara. That's what we do here in our councils. If a council is not letting you build an extension, you get in there, you sit side by side with him, your so-called enemy, and you change policy within. Now, if you fail to understand this, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. The Sant Samaj has taken this policy aboard. A lot of people are throwing thrones at them, but Jede Mahapurush hunde na, they are away from this. Asi roj padde hain bani vich, Nanak hukme jebo jeta home kahe na koi. If one understands the true message of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, your ego is put to one side and you will work for the Panth no matter who throws stones at you. And that is what is happening in Punjab right now. The Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee elections, historical win. The Sant Samaj won 50 odd seats in there, and that's through an alliance with the ruling party of Punjab. With that, they've started their prachar in villages. We're always moaning about why isn't there Sikhi prachar in villages? Well, that's the way to do it. Getting in the SGPC, and with that you have manpower and money power. That's the only way to achieve things on a massive level. And that is what's happening now. Paramjit Singh Tati is sitting here. He's done that. Whenever he goes to Punjab, he is with Baba Harnam Singh, he is with Bhai Jasveer Singh Rodde, and these are things you don't hear about. These are things you don't read about in the newspapers. But this is what's happening on the ground level, on the grassroots level. That's the first thing that we want. Sikhi prachar throughout all of our villages. And je tusi panch pindan nu ਇਕੱਠਾ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ 20 ਨੂੰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਾ ਤੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਪਿੰਡ ਕਰੋ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਿੰਡ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਵੀ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਆ. And with that you've won their hearts and minds. Come 5 years time, they're certainly going to vote for you. They're not going to vote for your so-called enemy. This is what's been achieved last year in other nations, and this is the only way that we can achieve something democratically. Do not be fooled by media saying the Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee is the mini parliament of Sikhs. That's rubbish. That is controlled by the centre. We can't even hold a meeting without their say-so. Our parliament is the General Assembly. That's where the Legislative Assembly people sit. That is where economic law is made, social law is made, and that is where change can happen. At the moment, one Punjab out of 28 states, and only we have 50 or so, 6, who we call 6, possibly some may disagree, Akali members. The majority are Congress and BJP and independents. Now, if we have power there, and if we have power in our village level, पंचायतों तो लैके एन असैंबली तक साडी जित्ती जित्तिया लड़ाई जरूर हैगी है पंजाब विच पर हथियार हैगा वोट दा ते जंग हैगी बद गिणती Our battle is representation and the weapon is at the moment the vote. With that we can achieve everything. That is the way to reach our Khalsa Raaj. If you have your members in the Punjab Assembly, you can pass anything you want because the people have elected you. That is the correct way, democratic way. The power of the Punjab people is our only way. And for those doubters, let me end with this. 1990, a 20-year-old, Jagraj Singh Tufan, was shaheed. जिन्ने भी उधर भोगते आए सी तकरीबन हिंदू सी 10,000 तो बाद बंदा सी उत्थे हिंदू उच्ची उच्ची रोंदे सी कि आज साडा रब मर गया. Why? Because he looked after the people. All the Hindus that felt that they were being threatened by so-called Khalistanis went to this Khalistani who gave them shelter. We can be the same as Jagraj Singh Tufan, and international Panthic da jehdi saadi soch hai na, oh eho surme war gaya. Waheguru ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru ji ki Fateh.